Hello, this is the Harvard Light. I'm Mary. I give a conservative perspective about the world around me. Feedback is immensely important. Feel free to reach out to me. Two ways to do that is through email and YouTube. Alright, so auditorily, you can still hear me promoting, the advertisement for my show here. And it's through different major streaming platforms, audio platforms, whether it be Pandora, Spotify, etc. You can hear. Alright, so I'm on a lot of different platforms. Won't be hard to find me. So, okay, let's get on to the topic of choice here. So, I'm going to continue out the aspects about Springfield topics here. This time, I'm going to focus my attention on the song by Paul, if I'm not mistaken, now Paul Simon was the one that wrote the song, but the collectively, you can say the folk rock band Simon and Garfunkel, April Come She Will. Here we go. Alright, so the first time I heard about this song was interesting enough. Well, I mean, it's apropos because her name is April. So the character that I'm referring to is Aubrey Plaza's character that she really made it uniquely her own in Parks and Rec. And so it was really the way that it was used, and then when you hear the song, it's interesting because the first time I heard it, I actually stopped and listened to it. And so that is the impact, I think, a lot of times with the aspects of what music and how it can influence and what it can give to society. It can be a means to enact, to just stop. And, if all the harmony, everything falls into place quite right, it can enact that reaction, right? And so, and then when I was sitting down and listening, and then looking at the scene in which it was used, it made it even more heartfelt, because it's in itself was, you get more and more of a sweet understanding of how much April loves and cares for the character Andy, which Chris Pratt did really well, and he's a really good actor anyway. And I'm not trying to go on a tangent, but it's really apropos, but to the aspects of our culture here and what we're going on in this case with the song and everything. So anyway, it's quite interesting, when, especially with the aspects of Chris Pratt, with him having a strong belief in a Christian belief, and then he is, even if you're deemed in any way conservative, that's an attack against us, our culture, which is ironic because with Democratic left, whatever you want to call, whatever it is, it's supposed to be the platform or the ideology of inclusiveness, when that's just not really the case. And the depth and range that he has in his characters, and then also to the lesser extent with Aubrey Plaza. Now she's done some, it is quite interesting because her characters, go in she's really good about merging that together with the surreal and absurdity, but leveling it out with being with everyday, with the being finding the beauty in the mundane things in everyday life. She does that really well too. And so, with all of this said, I think that captures the essence of what I'm about to talk about with the song April Come She Will. Because Simon and Garfunkel were, and I don't know, I guess you can say that that they were quintessential. Well, you can really say that, but I don't know, and sometimes it can be kind of stereotypical because, when you think about the 60s, for the most part, you think about, oh, this was the time of, if you gloss through it from a superficial lens, this was the time of protest and all this stuff. Yes, of course, most of the music was about that, but a lot of times, they were focusing in on the aspects of the beauty behind the human being human and everything else. And I don't know, it's something about, to me personally, I really appreciate this sound of folk music a lot of times, because it's something where it's stripped away from now I enjoy that too. Now, don't get me wrong in that, with the when it's a really good song here, with the good beats and the entertainment of it and so forth, But it's just something about the simplicity of, here I am with an acoustic guitar, or here I am just simply singing and engaging the audience to listen and hear what the message is about. All right, so with all of this said here, I am going to get into the facts about this song. Okay, so as I always say, and I'll reiterate it again. Okay, so sources will be provided for you in this episode. So I'm going to start out with this, when it pops up here, song lexicon, and it's entitled April Come She Will, and the meaning, and the reflection of Simon and Garfunkel. So this was originally written in 2023, and specifically on November 27th. So, what is the meaning, Come She Will? This is a song that weaves simplicity with profound emotion. So here are some key aspects and deeper meaning of the song. So the seasonal metaphor. Now the song uses the changing seasons as a metaphor for the stages of a relationship. Now each month signifies a different phase, beginning with the freshness of April and the ending of the bleakness of winter. Cycle of love. Now the progression from April to August represents the life cycle of a romantic relationship. So from its blooming start to its eventual fading. Transcends or the transcending of beauty. Now the fleeting nature of the season mirrors the aspects of beauty, of love and youth. Now bittersweet acceptance. There's a subtle acceptance of the inevitable decay in relationships, which is akin to the natural cycle of seasons. Now, the artist intended to capture the fleeting moments in life and love, underscoring in the beauty and the sadness interwoven in these experiences. The song evokes feelings of nostalgia, melancholy, and a poignant appreciation for transcending these moments. Okay, so they also break down from my point of view, they're kind of like stanzas. It's really poetic the way that it's written. So, okay. All right, so it says, April come she will, when streams are ripe and swelled with rain. Now, this line sets the scene in early spring, symbolizing a time of new beginning and growth. Now, the ripe and swelled. Now, streams are metaphors for the burgeoning emotion and the fresh bloom of a new relationship. May, she will stay, resting in my arms again. The months of May represent comfort and stability in the cycle of a relationship. Now, the imaginary of resting in someone's arms suggests a deeper connection and a sense of commitment. All right, so here comes June. June, she'll change her tune. In a restless walk, she'll prowl the night. Now, June brings a shift in the song, indicating changes within the relationship. The restless walks and prowling in the night suggest uncertainty and a sense of searching, possibly for something more or different. July, she will fly and give no warning to her flight. Now, July symbols a sudden departure or change akin to the fleeting nature of summer. Now, the lack of warning in her flight suggests an abrupt and unexpected transformation or ending in the relationship. August, die, she must. The autumn wind blows, chilly and cold. August death is metaphorically signifying the end of the relationship because, you're going on to fall. So the autumn winds are the beckoning of changes, indicating a shift from warmth to chillness to the solitude or loss. September, I'll remember. A love once new has now grown old. This line reflects on the past, with September serving as a time of remnants. It speaks to the aging of love from the vibrant beginning to a more mature, perhaps faded state. Now, these lyrics throughout the metaphor of changing seasons illustrates the life cycle of a relationship, capturing its inception, the growth, changes, and eventually it fading out. The song is a very poignant reflection on the transcendent nature of love and the inevitable of change. Okay, so I am going to get a bit more into the trivia of it, and then I'm going to give my thoughts, and then I'm going to wrap up with some, and then I'm going to give some more facts about the song to spread out the context of everything. All right, so the inspirational source. So the song was inspired by a traditional English nursery rhyme showcasing Simon and Garfunkel's ability to transform simple melodies into very profound lyrical poetry. All right, so album presence. It appeared on their 1966 album, Sound of Silence, which helped commence their status as folk rock icons. All right, so as I said, now the earlier, and I completely forgot about that because I was going to give this, so I'll translate this, as a transition to another point that I have here. All right, so its inclusion in The Graduate gave it a wider experience and a connection to the narrative of the youthful of uncertainty and transition. Now, The Graduate, that movie. I saw that movie, I think I was about 21. Yes. So anyway, I had heard about that movie. I mean, how can you not hear pop culture references in the movie? Because that movie just, when it got really popular and catched on, it just swept the nation, So anyway, Dustin Hoffman, yeah. For good or bad, he is one of those actors too that really goes into depth about talking and making a lot of commentary on being human, the human experience, and being young and transitioning yourself into, what does this mean for me, right? And The Graduate was a really a calling card for him, as far as, when you look on your resume here and you say, I've done this, here is my video resume of what I've done, a body of work. Case in point, The Graduate is good for that. So what am I saying here? So The Graduate in itself really takes you on a journey of the aspects of how youth in itself was thinking about the forefront of their disposition and the world, when it comes to the 60s and so forth. And there was a lot of ideas about this whole thing. What your parents anticipate for you to be versus what do you want to be. And so his character was really engulfed in trying to figure that out, to the point of, you can say maybe he had like at one point maybe he had like a Hamlet-esque sort of mentality of, I see all these different dispositions that I'm supposed to do, and I understand what I'm supposed to do. But right now, I'm kind of frozen in the moment because I can't really make a plan for myself. So I'm just going to drift away. And so artists like Simon and Garfunkel, they really, really, really hit the nail on everything with auditorily going through that journey of understanding. Okay, so now I'm going to transfer and go on and talk about, I have more content here, more facts here. Alright, so Alright, so as I mentioned, Sound of Silence, 1966. And that song, Sound of Silence, is really, it's understandable why it's used so much in so many different categories of shows, entertainment, because it's very profound in the aspects of how emotionally bound it is into seeing all the different experiences of how life unfolds itself. Alright, so April Come She Will was composed by Paul Simon, running just a minute 51, and it is the shortest track on the album Sound of Silence. Now, the song is also featured in the soundtrack of the film The Graduate. It meant to evoke the capriciousness of a young girl while relating to how the seasons changed. And the young girl, her disposition too, and the story is quite interesting with The Graduate, because she's supposed to be representing the aspects of innocence and youth and exploration and wonder. And then on the other side, he's disillusioned about all this stuff. So, when he comes into her life, he shatters all that down by the way, he just is so jaded about everything. And it's quite interesting, the dynamic with all that. And then everything else. Alright, so as I was saying about the nursery rhyme, which is recited by an English girl with whom Simon had an affair. It stands to reason, then, that this would go along with the plot of The Graduate. Now listen for an echo of the song and for Emily whenever I may find her. So this is from Simon and Garfunkel's subsequent album Parsley, Sage, Rosemary, and Thyme. Alright, so this song isn't the only one with a classical lyric inspiration on that album. Richard Coy is also based on a poem of the same name by the American poet Edwin Arlington Robinson. Alright, so I'm going to wrap up here with this. Give more depth in it. So this is what they are accounting for on song meaning and analysis. So let's see what they have to say. So it says, April Come She Will is very poignant song, and it captures the fleeting nature of love and the passing of time. Now the song's narrative perspective is very reflective and often a nostalgic look back at a past romance. So the core message is one of longing and the bittersweet memories that linger after a relationship has ended. Now these times of love, loss, and nostalgia are woven through the song, creating a rich tapestry of emotion. Now, goes on to say, interpretations. April Come She Will is a beautifully crafted song that captures the complexity of love and loss. Now, the song's narrative perspective is very reflective, offering a nuanced exploration of the human experience. Though it's time of love, loss, and nostalgia, the song creates a rich emotion landscape that resonates with listeners. Okay, so I'm going to end by saying these things. Now, I want to encourage y'all to check him out. He's a really good YouTuber. And is the Poor Man's podcast here. And so he recently went on and did something that I think is very reflective and apropos into the aspects of this song, April Come She Will, in a different way here. Now, he talked about the aspects of Disney adults, right? And so he was giving commentary about something that another YouTuber has done. And so essentially it went into the problems that we are seeing with the aspects of where does it cross the line, where we draw the line when there are adults in the world that cannot figure out how a very important it is to go through milestones in life. And so when you don't go through milestones in life, you essentially trap yourself or get trapped in the aspects of arrested development. And so that was a lot of the themes that was going on with The Graduate, and the themes that you can kind of say so forth with the aspects on a darker side of April Come She Will, by saying that these things here. Now, that's the really interesting thing about relationships and when you're really young and you're trying to figure everything out. And if you look at it from this point of view, take it in. This is merely my humble opinion here. It can be something that can be a testament or a benchmark for how will you move on and view yourself, and will you grow, or will you be bitter and not really change when it comes to reaching milestones and finding a new relationship, and then getting all those milestones together. So what am I saying about this? Quite simply, now this was really pushed a lot when I was growing up and so forth, and all these kind of dispositions, and I was going against all of this stuff because I thought it was just pointless to think like this. So it was all this, I don't need a man, or rah sisterhood, or everything else, when in reality having those dispositions is going to perpetuate. If that's what you want to, how you want to live your life, more power to you. But that's that's a pretty hard, bleak life to just say, I am the so all be all, just me living my life and not wanting to get outside of myself and give to others, be with others, understand others, and, have rich, sweet memories of having a really strong relationship, or having a really strong family, and then having a really strong family, and have a really rich marriage, and all these things. Now, getting back to the point here. And so all those things, leaving you bitter and this, all these things where you don't, the reason why that happens is because you don't learn and reflect. And that's easier said than done, because that's a long, hard road to really look at yourself and look at your inner understanding about how you are viewed towards other people when it comes to relationships. And then when it breaks down, how to view yourself and the other person, and how to move on and be better in the next round, right? And so again, being very reflective, and this whole idea of nostalgia, of wishing and belonging of something, this is really crossing the line of, it can be a lesson to be learned about. Don't stay in nostalgia, because when you perpetually stay in nostalgia about something, it hinders you from moving on to where you need to be, or where you could be. And that's why I'm saying about the aspects of these whole Disney adults. That's the underlying underbelly about why this is a thing, and why you see this whole thing about, grown but adults going to this Barbie con, wherever the heck it was, and being disappointed that it wasn't what they were expecting, that they get ripped off. Well, for the most part, not the most part, let's just be honest, Barbie is supposed to be for girls, little girls. And so that's something that's supposed to be family filled. And to a little girl, like the events that they had out there, that would be fun, because it's supposed to be for girls. So, it's this whole thing here which needs to be, reiterated. When we don't, when we stay in nostalgia and we don't get out of the aspects of moving on with our lives and trying to find more purpose and meaning and being more grounded, you get this weirdness, and to where you're really stuck in this perpetual sadness, because you're just not seeing the reality situation of the other half of being an adult, and then all these amazing experiences you can have when you become an adult, and then the understandings that you can have, and being more enlightened, more aware of things. Just a humble opinion here. With that said, this reaches the end of the harboring line. Alright, so tune in, turn up, and absolutely take care. Bye-bye for now.